Okay, so it's 11 o'clock and I am ready to rock and roll. And I'll give it a few minutes I think there's just a handful of people, 4 or 5 people registered. So let's see if they come in the next couple of minutes and then we will get started. And I see your chat message. So that is great. I'll be looking forward to any questions from you. And I did not get a chance to ask that question to IDFPR that you asked me, but I am going to make that a priority this time to get that question entered in. And hopefully I can get a response back from them regarding that question, that excellent question before about how equity crowdfunding investors may affect ownership structure of a currently licensed dispensary or currently cannabis business licensee, whether it's craft grow or infuser or transport or whatever. So I'm going to try and get the answer to that. I haven't forgot about you. All right, so I'll give it a couple more minutes. And then I'll share my screen. Let me get some final setup down here. Then I'll cut my music. We get started. All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you again, Mr. Theodore, for being my only attendee right now. And hopefully we will get another participant. Let me check and make sure there's nobody at the gate. It doesn't seem to be, so I will go ahead and mute my music. Yes, the previous recording, I have it, and I'm not exactly sure how to share it, to be honest with you. I've only done Zoom. I think this is maybe only my actual 3rd or 4th actual Zoom meeting. So I have the recording and I will be happy to share it. I have to figure out how to do that. I'm sure it's probably pretty simple because I have it in my account somewhere. I just need to get oriented on how to do that. So I will definitely make sure I share the recording with you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully, if someone does come in, I pray that I see them because this is a really challenging interface. And so, all right, well, thank you again, Sam, for attending. This is the part 3 session of CannabisEquityX Conference and Expo, which is an event that started up back in 2019 and went all the way through with about, I think, 6 or 7 public events, including some additional training sessions. Got that, Sam, thank you. I will email you there. And so I had 6 or 7 of these events publicly down in my office downtown. And then COVID hit, of course, and that shut everything down after February. I think February was probably our biggest or our second biggest event. We had like 70 plus people. So the name had really caught on. I had just started publishing Chai Cannabis Week newspaper. It was an 8-page tabloid newspaper focused on profiling and highlighting people of color, Black and brown people, women in the cannabis space, which at that time really wasn't very many of them. So I ceased publication and I'm looking to restart that publication once we get some actual Black people in the business, like actually with the store open. And then I have some content that I can actually write about because I'm not trying to actually publicize the existing cannabis dispensaries that are primarily white male owned. And I don't have anything against white male owning whatever they want to own, but my newspaper is set up to highlight and showcase people of color in the cannabis industry. So that's what the whole purpose of that newspaper was. That will resume publication again once people actually start opening up their businesses. So let me go ahead and get into let me share my screen. And enough of seeing me. Let me do this, share the desktop. All right, so you should be able to see kind of like a hodgepodge of stuff here I can't see the chat. Let me see if I can still kind of see the chat. Okay, I'm gonna try and see if I keep the chat open. So first thing I want to do is I want to upload the document to, let's see if I can do that real quick. All right, so I am uploading the resource guide number 3. A lot of the information in here is the same as the other resource guides. All right, so everyone that's looking at this on the video, there's a couple of people here, me and another participant. So it's just 2 of us. So for the sake of everyone that's looking at the video, I am going to go through our presentation probably in a rapid fire way. But since you're not here, the PDF file is available to attendees. It's not like posted online or anything. So if you attend the event, then you'll be able to get the actual PDF file. All right, so today, here's what we're going to cover. The main thing today is to talk about how to develop a crowdfund approach and initial strategy. So I'm going to actually go to that first and then go back through the presentation deck, which is really a PDF file of full of resources. So you've decided or you're thinking about developing a crowdfunding campaign, sort of like a GoFundMe, but for your cannabis business enterprise. Now, an attendee from the previous event named Sam, he brought up a good question, which I want to address, which is if you do an equity crowdfunding where you bring in additional investors, and let me just define equity crowdfunding. Equity crowdfunding is when you do sort of like a GoFundMe where people give you money and it's for a purpose. Maybe you had emergency, you need surgery, your house got burned or something like that. But instead, it's for your business. Okay, it's not like a donation. It's actually an investment in your business. So it operates sort of similar to a GoFundMe, but it's not a GoFundMe. It's actually an investment in your company, and that's what is called equity crowdfunding. Now, Sam brought up the question, which is an excellent question. I haven't gotten an answer yet. If you actually have an equity crowdfunding, how will that affect your ownership structure for your cannabis business enterprise as it's legally registered? And how will that affect your ownership structure with the IDFPR and other entities such as the Illinois Department of Agriculture, Department of Transportation, all of the people who oversee any type of cannabis business license, such as an infuser, transporter, what else is it? Infuser, transporter, craft grower, and dispensary. So there's 4 types of licenses. I might be missing one, but so if you have additional investors that you bring on through an equity crowdfunding, there is the concern and there is possibly an issue of ownership changes that you would have to be accountable for to the department, whichever one, Department of Agriculture, Department of IDFPR, Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, or possibly the Illinois Department of Transportation. I don't know if IDOT is over the transporter licenses. I think it's just all agriculture department over that. So that's a great question. I'm going to be asking it to 2 different resources, which would be the Agriculture Department and IDFPR. So I haven't done that yet, but I will do that after this event, and I will hopefully have an answer for you, Sam. All right. So with that in mind, if you are looking to develop a crowdfund strategy, this is probably a good approach for that. It's a perfect segue actually into this topic. So if you're looking to do a, let me hide some of this crap on my screen. Sorry, guys, I didn't even think to do that. But yeah, so if you're looking to do a crowdfunding campaign and you don't have really an initial strategy, the one thing that I would encourage you to consider doing is to do a rewards-based crowdfunding campaign before you do an equity crowdfunding. And here's my rationale. So I did a crowdfunding campaign for Chicago Blog Week. I probably never heard of it. It was way back, I think in 2015, or it might have even been earlier. And it was on Indiegogo. And so I was trying to raise, I think like $1,500, $1,600. And these were from people that I already knew. These were people in my office. These were close associates, my inner circle people, family, people, Facebook friends, people that you actually know, that know you, trust you, know what you're doing, know all about what you're doing anyway. And so I'll never forget an office entrepreneur named Peter, who had a space in the co-working space downtown where I was at. He told me, he says, Danté, he says, listen, that's a great idea what you're trying to do. But let me warn you, when you go to collect the money from everyone, he says, even including me, when you go to collect the money, it's going to be the hardest thing. It's going to be like pulling teeth. You're going to have to chase people to actually get them to do the transaction right on the spot when you have them in front of you. He said, if you don't do it that way, you're not going to get the money. And I was like, yeah, Peter. I was like, look, man, these are people that know me. They know about this project. These are people that know me. Lo and behold, I launched the campaign, and it was exactly like he told me. I had to chase Peter down. He was in the same office. I had to hunt him down. Now, me and Peter were already doing business, so we already were doing transactions. I broker printing, so Peter was ordering some printing from me on a regular basis. We were already doing business. So it's already like I was already in his pocket already, so to speak. And so I'm thinking, man, so I could not get Peter. Every time I went to go to his desk, he was busy. He was busy working on important stuff. He's like, Danté, listen, you got to come back. I'm in the middle of something. And he was. Peter was working on major stuff. And so he was always busy. And I finally cornered him, and he finally did the transaction. And I had to do that for like 90% of all of the people. A couple of people just, was like, oh, this is a great idea. Here's my donation. And, but it was just a couple of people. All of the people, I had to chase them. I had to chase them down, and I had to get them to do the transaction while I had them on the phone, while I was in front of them, while we were in the meeting. I had to have them pull out their card, go to the Indiegogo website, and actually commit the funds. So now, I want to prepare you for that, because equity crowdfunding, I haven't done equity crowdfunding yet, but it's even more complicated. But so to develop your initial approach, I would say come up with a small amount that you're going to crowdfund. I actually went over my amount by, I don't know, maybe $100, $200, something like that. So my crowdfunding campaign was successful. It's still up on Indiegogo. I have to find it, but it's still there. And so I was successful. I met my goal. With your crowdfunding campaign, I know that the dispensary people with licenses and all of the expenses are in the 6 to 7 figures easily. But I wouldn't try and raise 6 or 7 figures right off the bat with a rewards-based campaign, because number one, people are not getting ownership. They're just getting some type of swag, they're getting some type of bonus, some type of a benefit, maybe a hoodie, maybe some type of a meeting with you, some type of event that you have or something like that. They're not actually getting ownership in your business. So that is the reason why I would advise you to do a crowdfunding campaign in the 5-figure range, whatever that 5-figure range is that you're comfortable with. Now, you've seen these crowdfunding campaigns where they launch them on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, but the tech ones, the ones that are mainly tech-based, new product, new gizmo, some type of thing. So a lot of times these are like, they launch them and they're sold out in hours. Well, there's a trick behind that, all right? And the trick is that they have already pre-sold that offer before it even launches. So, and there's some statistics, and there's some research, which I won't quote, but basically you want to hit 30% of your goal amount right out the gate. So as soon as you launch, you need to hit a 30% number like that day. Okay, so you need to, so if you're trying to raise $10,000, somebody needs to put in $3,300 or $3,000. You need to hit 30% of that amount, like right up front. And if you don't do that, your campaign is probably not going to reach its goal. So there's all kind of metrics and numbers on crowdfunding, and there's some resources I'm going to share with you shortly about how you can get some data on that. All right, so come up with a 5-figure rewards-based campaign, and you can look at Indiegogo, you can look at Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and you could just simply search cannabis. And let me do that real quick so I want to show you how this actually works, and not just talk through the presentation. So let's go, we're going to go to Indiegogo. And let's see if we can find anything that relates to cannabis. Hopefully we can find something that relates to cannabis. Cannabis or CBD. You basically want to try and find, okay, so here, look at this. Indiegogo campaigns. Craft cannabis. All right, this is one right here. Let me enlarge my screen just in case you guys can see that. All right, so here's craft cannabis, $5,000 raised, CAD, so this is Canadian. And so there's a ton of these different campaigns. The reason why I want you to go and look at these campaigns is because you want to find one that was successful. And you want to find a successful campaign, and then you want to look at their offering rewards. Rewards are what you get when you make the donation. Again, this is not equity crowdfunding, it's rewards based. So you're going to get a reward. So you want to find one of these. Okay, so let's see. It looks like the National Cannabis Festival. I think that's in Washington. I think a Black person runs that. I think there's a Black woman that runs that event. It says about this campaign. Let me see if I could get, okay, yeah. Caroline Phillips, yeah. She's the campaign out of Washington. Yeah, I know about her. She's been very successful with this, but I'm not here to promote her. But anyway, so what we want to do is we want to look at the perks that she had. These are what the rewards are. These are the items that you want to create for the people who are going to be giving you the money. So she had, look at this, VIP founding member ticket. This was an event. National Cannabis Festival is an event. So it's an event where people go, I guess they smoke weed or whatever. I'm not sure what it is. I hope I'm not mislabeling her event. If I am, I apologize. All right, so it looks like 39 out of 150 people claimed the VIP perk. So the purpose of you going to Indiegogo and looking up cannabis in a crowdfunding website is to find out which one of these items that people really buy. It didn't look like a lot of people bought the t-shirts, 2 out of 25. So t-shirts might not be a hot seller for an event like this. They might be a hot seller for your event, for your business, but they may not be a hot seller for this event. It looks like 9 people out of 50 claimed the ticket and the t-shirt. So the ticket and the t-shirt seems to be a better seller. So I'm just going to go through here. So founding member ticket, $60. That's a sweet spot. 81 out of 200 claimed. So you can kind of look at these and determine from here what is successful. And then, of course, look at this. Sold out. Cannabis business consultation, $100. 4 out of 4 claimed. So consulting, meetings, one-on-one, that type of thing. So if you're launching a dispensary, you're the founder, trying to raise some money, you can say, hey, look, you can have a one-on-one meeting with me. Maybe you wanted to start a dispensary or get into business. You want to meet with me? That's $250 for a half-hour session on Zoom, like what I'm doing right now. And that might be a way in which you can raise money for your cannabis business license. So go and research Indiegogo, go to Kickstarter. Let's go to Kickstarter. Take a look on Kickstarter to see if they have cannabis business in here. Let me see, how do you search on here? I haven't been to these websites in quite some time. I think okay, yeah. All right, and then I'm gonna hit some questions in a minute. I know you might have one, Sam. So let's put in cannabis here and see if we come up with anything. Hopefully we come up, 303 projects. So it's 303 projects on Kickstarter that have cannabis in the project some kind of way. I don't know if it's cannabis dispensary, probably not, but it has it in there some kind of way. So what you want to do is you want to find, again, the successful one, the one that is the most successful. Here is Growing Hope Film. It looks like they have 94 backers. They probably raised 5 figures for this. So what did they raise? Let me see. Yep, they raised $18,000 out of a $15,000 goal. So they went over their goal. So then you want to go in here, you want to check out, look at what their pledge, perks, rewards, pledges, they're all basically the same thing. It's what you're going to give the person when they give you the money. Again, keep in mind, this is reward space, it's not equity. But this is the strategy that I'm recommending that you take before you get your equity crowdfunding offering off the ground. You want to have a successful win under your belt where you raise 5, 10, 15,000, whatever. And you got a crowd momentum building and someone has said, hey, we support this idea. Then you want to move from that into your equity crowdfunding. And so that is my strategy. And that is my tip for you today, is to create that. Now, let me check and see if there's any questions in the chat. Let's see. Okay, all right, no questions in the chat. Doesn't look like anybody else is trying to get in. If they are, I don't actually know how to see that information. Anyway, so let me get the chat out of the way here. Get back in. All right, so again, let's move on back to the agenda here. All right, so how to develop a crowdfunding approach and initial strategy. The initial strategy and the approach that I recommend is that you create a rewards-based crowdfunding campaign. So you create a reward space for a 5-figure amount. Don't do like $1,000 or anything in the 4 figures, because you're doing a cannabis business. It's going to take tens of thousands of dollars to pay attorneys, accountants, all that stuff, deposits for rental, buildings, licenses, all of that stuff is going to take a lot of money. So make it a 5-figure amount. At the very minimum, I would do 10,000. And like I told you earlier, you want to have 30% of those people who are going to support the campaign already lined up. So if you go on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, then you automatically have 30% of your audience that's going to buy in as soon as you launch. They already are waiting. They're at the computer. They're waiting for you to pull the trigger and say, our campaign is open. All right. And then they pull the trigger and boom, in 2 or 3 hours, you have 30% funded. And so that's going to hit the algorithm. It's going to tell people, hey, this campaign is hot. They might pump it up to the top of the page or give you some shout out some kind of way, because your campaign has hit the ground running. And so you want to at least have 30% of your people. So if you're going to do a $10,000 raise, you need to lock up $3,000, however you do it. And I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but it's all kind of ways you can come up with people that will support your campaign. So you want to make sure you have those people. Now, once you do that, there is a secondary strategy. This is the first strategy. This is a secondary strategy. Now, secondary strategy involves you setting up a rewards-based crowdfunding campaign on a WordPress website. Now, WordPress, if you guys don't know, WordPress is like 40% of all websites on the global internet. And it actually was co-founded by a mixed race brother named Mike Little out of the UK. People don't know that. I always tell people there's a little known secret about WordPress. I started the Chicago WordPress meetup group, the original one, way back in 2008. I'm an avid WordPress user, mainly because the brother co-founded it. So anyway, you can do a WordPress website, which will allow you to put a plugin in this website called Ignition Deck. Now, let me go to the Ignition Deck website. I am not here to promote them. I own this plugin, but I asked them actually to appear on this event. They never got back to me. So I'm not sure what happened there, but they're the second entity that I asked to appear, and they were interested, but I never heard back from them again. All right, so launch your crowdfunding platform. Now, let me be clear about this plugin. The plugin generally is used as a way to set up a platform like Kickstarter, like GoFundMe, like Indiegogo. But you could actually use this plugin for just your own offering. They don't promote it that way, but they had a very successful raise from this guy that created some kind of product dealing with spaceships and stuff. And he raised like $12 million using this very plugin. It was a custom version of this plugin that the Ignition Deck people, former owners, custom made for this guy. And he's since went on to raise like $500 million, with crowdfunding. I'm not even gonna name this company because there's some controversy around it. But it has nothing to do with actual cannabis. So this is a tool that you could use. So, my first strategy, if you're following me, get a rewards-based crowdfunding on a public-facing platform. Indiegogo, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, whichever one that you think is the best one. And then from there, go on your own website. And once you are successful, then go on your own website. You could still do your own your own rewards-based crowdfunding campaign while you're on Kickstarter. But here's the reason why you want to do it afterwards. And this is why I recommend this. I don't have a track record of doing this, so this is just Danté's strategy, Danté's thinking. I can't prove to you that this is gonna work. But here's what you wanna do. Once you drive all of that traffic to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and all of those other guys, of course, you sent people from social media there, you sent people from Facebook, from WhatsApp, you sent them all to another platform. That was great for the platform because you directed all that traffic to the platform. But what you want to do after you successfully have raised the money is you want to drive all this traffic back to your domain. And the way to do that is to have this plugin that I mentioned, Ignition Deck, running on your WordPress website. It's a crowdfunding plugin. I won't get into all the details. I'm not here to promote this. I don't get a commission if you go buy this or use it. You need to have some WordPress experience, possibly even a developer or someone that knows CSS or HTML to kind of do some fixing up of the plugin so that it looks the way you want it to look. But for the most part, it's not expensive. And you if you know a little bit about WordPress and you got like a guy or a woman or a friend that knows WordPress and they know how to do a little HTML, CSS, they might be a web designer, or you just might be Fiverr, okay? And they could fix this up for you and make it look like Indiegogo, Kickstarter. And there's even themes that they actually have that you can purchase that have all of that customization already factored in. You just buy the theme, plug in the content, and do a little adjusting, and voila, you have your crowdfunding website already established, already ready to go. Now, the strategy again behind that is that you want to drive people to your cannabis business. Say your cannabis business is CannabisEquityX.com. That's my website for this project. So I want to move from Indiegogo, from Kickstarter, to CannabisEquityX. I want to drive all my traffic. I want to do my digital marketing on Facebook, my Google AdWords. I want to do my Twitter, all of that stuff. I want to send my traffic to my website. Here's the reason why. When you go and you do that, and say you're successful, say you raise another $10,000 on your own website. Now people know to come to your domain name. When you go to raise your equity crowdfunding, there is an option. There is an option for you to use your own domain to raise money with an equity crowdfunding offer. And that is the strategy. That is all I wanted to share with you today. That is the ultimate strategy. I'm going to be talking about this a little more in detail on part 4, because there's not enough time here now. We're at 11:39. So I want to make sure that I end this at the right time. But that is the strategy that I wanted to depart. First of all, get a 5-figure amount, a low amount. Not an amount that's going to be outrageous, like 50,000, 75,000, because you want to be successful. So do 10 grand, okay? Do 10 grand. Don't do $999.99, or $9,999. Don't do that. Do 10,000 and upwards. And so once you hit that start button, make sure you got 30% of those people for the $10,000 raise already ready to go. All right. So you got $3,000 laying around with your friends, family, whoever, who's like, hey, Danté, I'm ready to support your cannabis business. We're ready to go. As soon as you push the start button and it's approved on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, whatever platform, then you got 3 grand within hours. Okay. Campaign's hot. It's getting traction. Boom. You hit the $10,000 mark. Successful raise. Maybe you can go over it. You want to move the campaign to your own platform, which is your own website. Get your own domain, CannabisEquityX.com. You go there. I got a crowdfunding theme. It looks like Indiegogo. It looks like Kickstarter. It looks like GoFundMe. It looks just like you're on a crowdfunding website. And so you then offer, say, another $10,000 in perks, rewards, pledges, with different types of swag and offering. Okay, follow me? All right, so then you're successful there. People are like, hey man, this is hot, 20 grand, boom, we're rolling. Of course, you probably need to raise like 2 million or more, but you raised 20 grand. Now you're ready to go and get the equity crowdfunding. The equity crowdfunding, depending on the platform, and this is what I'm gonna talk about in part 4, is that there are several platforms available where you can do an equity crowdfunding using your own domain. Now, there's other platforms available, Republic, it's Start Engine, it's a ton of them. They're all in that PDF file. It's a ton of them, but they operate on the same principle of you drive all your traffic to there, and there's 50 other offers on that website, so people are distracted, that type of thing. But there's a handful of these providers who offer you the ability to do your own equity crowdfunding on your own domain, and it's legally compliant, meets all of the SEC, federal and state regulations, blue sky laws, meets all of those qualifications. You won't get in any trouble. I can't say you won't get in any trouble, but the platform is set up to be compliant. That's the proper way to say this, because you still might get in trouble if you do stuff right. All right, so I'm going to be talking about that in session 4, and I'm going to be listing those platforms. I doubt that I'm going to get any of them to attend, but I'm going to reach out to one and see if I could get one of them to come and speak on the benefits of running an equity crowdfunding offering on your own domain using their infrastructure. If I can get one of those people, then it's on. But my ratio of hitting with people is they talk to me, they're interested, and then they ghost me. So I don't know, maybe it could be a reason for that. But I'm not sure. So anyway, I'm gonna keep trying. That is pretty much my offer for you today. Since there is just only one other person here on this, I'm not gonna go through the entire deck, but I will go through and show you some of what's in here. So it's only we got 2 minutes. I want to end this at 11:45. So this document is a lot of pages. It's probably all of the information that you would ever need to understand equity crowdfunding, okay? But here's some of the things I want to point out. All right, so let's take a look at none of this stuff right here. But I want to show you a success story. This is really one of the success stories. Curl Mix is a success story because they're based right here in Chicago. And they raised over $5 million doing an equity crowdfunding, okay? And they're based right here in Chicago. Now that's one success story. I got 1 minute left. Let me show you the other one. The other success story. And let me just point it out. This is a Black founded company, man and a woman, wife and husband team founded this. They operate here out of Chicago. I think they manufacture or process all the stuff here. So this is a husband-wife team, like a Black version of Procter & Gamble. That's the way I look at it. That type of thing, but much smaller, obviously. So here's another success story that I want to highlight, and then I'll end this session. The first Black man to raise the maximum amount in a regulation crowdfunding platform. Okay, $1,070,000. That's what he raised, which was the maximum at that time when he was doing this. It's now 5 million. Okay, but at the time he was the first brother to raise this money on a platform. He the first one on all of the platforms. He was the first brother, and he is Pierre Laguerre. Becomes first Black man to raise 1.07 million max in all regulation crowdfunding. This is back in 2020. So this is some inspirational stuff that's in this PDF. I apologize that you guys can't view this, but it's some very good information in this PDF. And with that, if there are no more questions, then I will end this session and make sure that I get this video uploaded so that people can view this on the next. I'll make sure that I put these videos on the Eventbrite page so you can see them there. So to give me about 48 hours to do that, and I'll put this one, and then I'll put the next one I'll put the previous one. Actually, I'll put all 3 of them up there. And then that way people can see and they can pick and choose whichever one they want to listen to. All right. Thank you for attending. And I hope people who are looking at this video are inspired. I hope my strategy makes sense. I hope you get some type of inspiration from this. And I want you to be successful with your cannabis business enterprise, because then I can report about you and write a cover story for my cannabis newspaper, which is going to be coming out as soon as we get some Black people in the business here in Illinois. All right. Thank you, and I'm going to end this session. Is there anything, Sam, that you have that you would like to tell me or ask me before? If not, okay, it says, see you in part 4. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to end this session. And thanks again, Sam, for attending. I appreciate it. It was just 2 of us on here. But this replay will be available. And so thank you again. I will see you in part 4. That will be announced shortly. I'll put that information up on Eventbrite as soon as I get organized here. And I will hope to see you next month in September when we do this again. All right. Thank you again. Bye for now.